Namaste and welcome to week 4 of our immune boosting yoga. So we're going to warm up the heart and lungs. So each week these movements have been getting progressively more strenuous. So please remember, anything new to try gently. Okay, so we're just going to start off perhaps letting your head move in line with the spine. Swinging the hands at hip height. Make sure your feet are firmly planted. And just pay attention to how you may be using your breath. Notice you're engaging the core muscles by keeping those feet firmly pressing into the floor. And you're allowing that rotation, if your head is moving, to go all the way up to the top of the neck. You can maybe sense that bone right at the top of the spine where the skull is resting on it. Okay, and then we'll take the arms to shoulder height. Remember, you've got the opportunity here to wrap the arm leading behind the back and to maybe rest the back of that hand temporarily on the upper back. And you might be bringing the other hand to tap the outside of the opposite shoulder. Again, you might want to move your head and notice the difference that you can make by just encouraging your eyes to look behind you. And you may choose to keep the eyes closed and just open the eyes for a flash. And notice that brief second of focus moves that rotation further. Okay, give the eyes a rest. And then we'll take the hands above the height of the shoulders. And as you're turning left and right, you can feel the armpits moving. Let the shoulders go with that momentum. Again, you might want to take the eyes to look towards the elbow behind you. All the time keeping those feet firmly planted. And as soon as your arms start to feel heavy, you can begin the process, slowly bringing the arms down. Try not to turn the brakes on all of a sudden. Again, notice how you might be using your breath. And when you are ready, you can then bring your feet a bit closer together and stop the swaying. Gently, slowly. And notice how that movement has affected your breath. Notice how still feels. So we wait a moment, a minute, maybe more, just to feel settled. Balancing the weight in the four corners of your feet. So the feet are actively pressing into the floor. And the closer you have your feet, the more strenuous the balance. So adjust your feet so that they're comfortable width. And then when you've gathered your breath, begin to lift an arm. So you stretch one arm up towards the ceiling. You may have an urge to look up. Breathe in here. Feel that rib cage lifting. And then as you breathe out, use the whole of the breath out to bring that arm down. And you may need to take another breath for the sensation of that stretch to completely subside. So we're doing this slowly, with mindfulness, with control. Maybe taking a breath to move into the stretch and then holding it, pressing the foot down as well as the hand up on the breath in. And bringing the arm down on the breath out. And maybe taking another resting breath here. So you may be moving every other breath. It may be taking you a breath to get into the stretch and then another breath. And really focus on the sensation in that stretch. Keep it steady by keeping both feet firmly planted on the floor and keep it comfortable. So if you find you get a more comfortable stretch with the chin looking down rather than up, always choosing steady and comfortable. Taking care, looking for any signs of stress, particularly catching that breath in the throat. And look how there may be an urge to hold that breath in, to hold the stretch. And then gently and slowly back to neutral. So having stretched at least 3 times to either side, you can do another stretch if you feel like you need to. I started on the left side, so you'll finish on a stretch to the right. And allow yourself a moment just to feel that sensation of the stretch in the sides. Now, last week we did this with our feet side by side. If you want a deeper stretch, we can take a stride this week. Again, I've taken a modest stride, both feet comfortably pressing on the floor, feet hip width apart, and hips facing forwards. And then I'm going to move my arms. And as one arm swings forward, notice how it's taking the shoulder. And as the arm swings back, it's taking the shoulder back. So the shoulders are turning, and they're creating that rotation in the spine, which is fixed at the hips because your legs are glued to the floor, your feet are glued to the floor. So if you wanted, you could let the hips move a little. Depends on what feels most comfortable for you. What feels most steady is to keep the hips still. And then you can allow the arms to swing, if you've got the energy, all the way up. And maybe you could hold this stretch and take a breath in here. And as you breathe out, you let the arms drop. And then maybe next time you could time it so that the other arm swings forward. Take a breath in. And let the arms drop. So you're just allowing those shoulders to swing. And go at your own pace. Maybe lifting the arms every now and again into that twist, into that stretching breath. And then let's change legs. So don't forget you haven't got your best foot forward this time, so you may need to start off gently. Find your feet. So feel the shoulders moving relative to the pelvis. Notice where that twist is happening in the spine. It's the forward-backward momentum through the fingertips that's causing those shoulders to turn. And if you wanted to, you could take the arms all the way up. Take a stretching breath here. And then sweep. But you must be swinging your arms however is comfortable for you. Okay, and let's rest. Step the feet together. Shake out any tension. Breath of fire. Okay, remember this is the snorty breath through the nostrils, using the abdominal muscles to pump that breath out on the exhale. So it's an exhale with force or some force, and a completely passive inhale. Hands on the belly just to help us focus into that abdominal muscle, the girdle. Take a breath in, breathing in and out through the nose, just to wait for the breath to settle. And then breathing into the palms of the hands. And rest. So about a dozen. You don't have to go at my pace. You might want to go faster. You might want to go slower. Breathing into the belly. Notice how this is waking up the nostrils, widening the nostrils perhaps. Breathing in and out through the nose, waiting for the breath to settle. Deep breath into the belly. And relax. Just a reminder that it's only the out breath that you should be hearing. If you're starting to sound a little bit more, and you need to stop and rest. Let's do that one more time. So breathing through the nostrils into the belly. And rest. Waiting for the breath to settle. So you don't have to hold the hands for this. If you find that holding the hands restricts the shoulders, then don't hold the hands. Have the hands palm width or shoulder width apart. But I'm going to clasp my hands, holding one hand against the other, thumbs crossed. Notice which one is on top. And lift the arms. Take a stretching breath here, reach your knuckles to the ceiling or fingertips if you have your hands parted. And every time you exhale, you bring the thumbs down. So it's here, stretch and breathe in, and exhale. And we could do this a bit more like the breath of fire. And rest. and let the breath settle. Okay, let's hold hands again. Other thumb on top this time. Hands up. Belly rise as you breathe in. And rest. Breathe normally. Okay, so for the next stretch, I'm going to turn my back to you. So please excuse my back just to show you what my arms are doing. They start here, arms facing forward. And then as I reach one up, I reach the other like so. So there's a point where the arms are straight and then both elbows bend. So the palm of the upper hand maybe touches the back of your neck and the back of the lower hand I'm going to do maybe a few more of these. Keep the chin down. And rest. And again, give those arms a swing. Okay, so we're going to finish, like we have done in previous weeks, with the windmill breath. So again, you know a lot more now about how your arms are moving, so just try those circles on. Don't forget, the bigger the circle, the longer that will take, or the faster you have to swing your arms. So you are going to be breathing in, breathing in, breathing in, stretch. And then maybe you'll feel an urge to hold that breath in. That gives you time to bring the chin down and prepare yourself to throw the front body, exhaling through the mouth. Okay, so we'll do this 3 times at your own pace. And the first time you probably found the toes gripping and the head holding onto itself. We're just trying that momentum on. Wait until the effort has completely settled before you go again. Don't forget to soften the knees. And the next time we end up in that straddle forward bend, let's stay there. So when the arms have settled, you can put your fingers or your hands onto the floor and then maybe park your feet again, so you might have to turn the heels out. And then any kind of movement you wish here. If you want to rock backwards and forwards from the heels to the toes, or swing the hips slightly side to side, or tilt the pelvis up towards the ceiling, whatever you need to do to settle into that straddle forward bend. And it's a good opportunity here while the head is hanging to maybe make a few movements with the neck. Just allow the head to release any tension. And again, it's up to you. Maybe you'll find it easier to bring the feet closer together, soften the knees, lift the belly before you uncoil gently. There's no rush, and eventually you'll find yourself back standing. And we can complete the warm up, taking a few breaths, noticing the impact and how we're breathing right now and how it feels to be still again. Again, take your time. And now we're upright, we can begin the next part of our class, and we're starting our asana today with warrior. So we're going to build our warriors from the ground up. So walk to the back end of your mat, look ahead, and take a comfortable stride forward with the right foot, just enough to make the left heel lift. And then you can settle that left foot back, finding your balance. If you need to spread the feet wider, please do. And then check the hips are in line with your shoulders. So the pelvis is perpendicular to the floor, not tilting to the left or the right, and both feet firmly pressing, balls of the feet pressing into the ground. And then let's create that stretch in the middle of the body by activating the muscles in the back to lift the chest. And you may find the chin lifting in line with the spine. And then we press the pelvis forward, allowing that front knee to bend. Hips sinking as you exhale, chest lifting as you inhale. And then if you're steady from the pelvis down, you can lift your arms and maybe even lifting your eyes to look between the thumbs. And just encouraging the eyes to find the thumbs will lift your head so you'll lose the horizon. So keep stretching upwards equally and evenly through both arms. Sink the hips, navel to the spine as you exhale, lift the chest as you inhale. And then we're going to move from here into warrior two. So on the next exhale, take the right arm forward. Move the left shoulder behind you. You can have the palms up or down. And then turn on the foot at the back. So you may want to hop the foot perpendicular to the front foot and press down with the outside edge of both feet to ensure that knee in front of you isn't rolling inwards. And then create some space between your fingertips. Breathe in and lift the chest. Navel to spine, tuck the tailbone under. Turn the chin so your neck is in line with the spine upright and you can feel that rotation going through the neck. Pull the chin in to make the neck longer. Another breath here. And then arms down on the exhale. You can straighten that knee and hop back. So I can keep looking at you. I'm moving to the other side. You might need to do the same. Left foot forward then. Stepping into warrior one. Think about your footprints and the pelvis. Find balance. And then the muscles in the spine active. to bring the shoulders back and lift the chest. And then to prevent this lumbar spine becoming too arched, tucking the tailbone under and pressing the pelvis forward. Always worth having a look down at your knee for sure. If you can't see your toes, that knee is too far forward. Sinking the hips, lifting the chest, and if you're steady, then you can lift your arms, and still steady, you can lift your eyes. Keep that upward momentum every inhale. Tailbone forward, navel to spine as you exhale. Imagine you're that fiery weapon bursting out from the floor. Virabhadrasana. And then from here, on the next exhale, reach forward with your left hand and backwards with the right. Orientate your arms where they are comfortable, bringing the shoulders down. And then keeping that knee steady in the front, hop back or turn that foot at the back. Both thighs rotating outwards to maintain good contact with the foot, outside edge of the foot and the floor, and stretching between the fingertips. Turn the chin, lengthen the neck. Stop that tailbone sticking out by using navel to spine every exhale. Lifting the chest on the inhale. One more breath here. And then arms down on the out breath. Straighten up that knee and hop back. Again then, right-footed warrior, building your warrior from the floor up. So remember, Virabhadrasana, Shiva's secret weapon. Muscles all down the back working, maybe from the back of your head, base of the skull, all the way down the spine. Moving into warrior two by rotating the shoulders. And then adjusting the stride. Left foot forward then. Both hips the same height from the floor. Both shoulders the same height from the floor, therefore the hands are reaching the same height. Navel to spine to support that lumbar spine. Next breath out, turn the shoulders, reaching the left hand forward and the right arm behind you. Settle the shoulders away from the ears. And then adjust the back foot. Just worth checking that that knee stays above the ankle. Lift the chest, tuck the tailbone under. Working with the outsides of both feet, so both thighs slightly outwardly rotated. As much distance as you can between the fingers. So the right arm is reaching back just as much as the left hand is reaching forward. Turn your chin, look down your leading hand, getting your enemy in your sights. One more breath. Arms down and step back. So a lot of muscle there being used, particularly in the head, neck and shoulders. So we're going to fold now to a forward bend. Very comfortable forward bend. You can have something in front of you if you don't like to touch the floor. But again, we're doing this. Soften the knees to allow the head, neck and shoulders just to hang. You can move your head and or move your shoulders in a pendulum-like sway if you prefer. Nodding, shaking the head gently, yes and no. And then when you're ready, soft knees, lift the belly, very gently and slowly uncurl. And come back to standing. Find balance in the feet and sense any movement in the chest as those shoulders settle down away from your ears. So we're going to turn so that we are able to take a wide stride on our mat. And then we're going to fold into wide stride forward bend. So pressing down the outside edges of the feet, hands on the hips, and slowly bringing the front body forward. And again, if you wanted to loosen the head off, then please do. And if you don't reach the floor, maybe put something on the floor here. You might want to widen between the heels so the outside edges of your feet are parallel, and rock forward and backwards on the feet. Navel to spine on the exhale to help the spine lengthen. Chin to chest, so you're gazing up towards your navel. So hands on the floor unless you are unable, in which case hands on a block. And as you breathe in, you're going to lift the top of your head and maybe stretch the chin forward, coming up to your fingertips. And as you exhale, you fold. Chin to the throat, looking up towards the navel. Breathing in. And breathing out. Keep the shoulders back and away from the ears so the neck stays long. Keep the feet relaxed. One more time. If you need to repark your arms or perhaps even lift them, catch the opposite elbow with the opposite hand and let the elbows drop down to the floor. Tip the tailbone up towards the ceiling. Navel to spine as you exhale. And once the spine is lengthened, don't forget to soften any trembling in the knees. Move your hands to the right foot, ankle, or maybe hold the knee so you can let the shoulders settle down. And turn the chest so it's in line with your right thigh. And then you can tuck the chin in and bring the chin, nose or forehead closer to the knee. Make sure both feet are pressing into the floor. Don't be tempted to soften the knee to bring it closer to the nose. You'll lose that stretch. And one more breath. And then release. Slowly, gently move the hands, the spine in line with the left thigh. Balance the weight in the feet. Find the muscles you need to turn your chest and turn your spine in line with the left thigh. Chin towards the throat, forehead towards the knee. Shoulders back and away from the ears. So if you're straining to reach the ankle, bring the arms higher up the leg. One more breath. And then release and return back to the center. And then very gently walk your hands forward, lift the shoulders, and maybe step, hop or shuffle your feet so they're closer together. Lift the belly. In your own time, slowly and gently back to standing. And again, take a few minutes or a few breaths for everything to settle. Notice how you might be using your breath. Wide stride. This time we're going to move on the breath into the twist. If you don't want to lift the arm, then you don't have to, okay? We'll do it once without lifting the arm and then we'll do it with. And again, you do whatever is more comfortable for you. So wide stride, forward bend. Get steady. On an exhale, left hand towards the right shin, ankle, right arm behind the back as you inhale. As you exhale, turn into the twist. As you inhale, press that chest forward and to the right, lifting the right shoulder. Exhale, bring the right hand to the left. Inhale, left arm completely passive on your back. Take a breath out and twist, keeping the spine long. And as you inhale, press the chest forward. Exhale. Left hand to right shin, knee, ankle. Inhale, right arm behind the back. Take a breath out and twist, keeping the spine long. And take a breath in. Right arm, breathing out, reaches left. Left hand behind the back, breathe in. Keep the spine long, twist. And breathe in, press the chest to the left. Now with the arm. Left arm to the right shin. Right arm behind the back. Breathe out and twist. And breathe in and stretch up with that arm. Bring the right arm to the left shin bone. Breathe in. Lift the left shoulder. Put the left arm behind the back. Breathe out and twist. And breathe in, lift the left arm. And breathe out. And so on. So if you find lifting the left arm encourages you to follow your hand with your eyes and it deepens the twist so much you don't like it, you could try by making a small adjustment and keeping your eyes looking down at the floor. Breathe out as you reach across. Breathe in as you reach up. You don't have to follow that hand with those eyes. And one more each way. So we finish on a twist to the left. And again, hang in neutral. And from here, you don't have to go back upright. You can find whatever is the easiest route down so that you are going to be back to floor. In that semi-supine position with your knees up towards the ceiling and your feet where they're comfortable on the floor. So from the semi-supine position, we're going to just take a moment to settle the spine and all that effort from those twists and release that tension in the hips and thighs and maybe in the neck, because that looking up towards the ceiling was quite strenuous for the neck. So maybe just begin by rolling the head as the breath settles, letting go of any tension in the head, neck and shoulders and the jaw. Letting the face soften. So no pushing, no shoving. And noticing how the head is feeling heavier as the contact with that head and the ground beneath it the weight of the head seems to settle into the floor. And in the next few breaths, bring your head to what feels like the center and maybe just pull the chin down a bit. Move into that space you've created. And then without using the hands or the elbows or the feet, let's begin just those spinal rolls. So you're arching your back, tipping the tailbone forward as you inhale And you're flattening the spine towards the floor as you exhale. Noticing how the spine is lifting and where that lift reaches. And notice how the spine rolls down to the floor. And here you might notice a slight bend or a slight twist in the spine. Maybe one side of the back is lifting higher, one side of the spine is a bit heavier. And taking care not to end game or use your feet, your elbows, or your shoulders. And notice that as you draw the navel to the spine, and perhaps the pelvic floor, how the spine lengthens. And presses into the floor. So we need that girdle, that support in the front of the body, especially when we take our feet off the floor. So in the next few breaths, finish on an exhale, and then you can lift your feet off the floor. And if you don't want to lift both feet, if you want to keep one foot on the floor for stability, then you can. So make sure your back is completely comfortable, and then 1 foot at a time, hands on the floor, maybe have the elbows wider and the palms down for stability. Now you haven't got your feet. And then on the inhale, stretch 1 foot into foot to ceiling pose. Take care that you're not rolling from the left and to the right. And as you exhale, you can bring that foot down. Other foot then, up to foot to ceiling on the inhale, reaching the peak of the stretch at the peak of the breath. And exhale, relaxing all the muscles in that leg all the way to the toes as you exhale and bring the knee down. So work at your own pace. Don't forget this stretch, like any other, moves upwards through the sole of your foot towards the ceiling and downwards through your back print to the floor. And we're trying to put as little strain into anything else, okay? So you're not using your arms, your shoulders, the back of your head. And maybe keep bringing the chin down so you're looking towards your outstretched foot, even if you've got your eyes closed. So the more perpendicular you can hold that thigh bone, doesn't matter whether the leg is straight or bent, the more evenly it's balanced, the more it keeps your weight in the center. So if you can comfortably stretch both legs into a balanced position, then you might want to start lifting both feet. Inhaling feet to ceiling and exhaling knees to the chest. Have a sneaky peek up at your feet. Make sure that the outside edges stay parallel. Some of you might want your feet and knees touching. I prefer the toe bones to touch and the heels to stay slightly further apart. So I'm slightly inwardly rotating my thighs. Don't forget to gaze towards the shin bones to keep the back of the neck long. So you may be holding your both legs, you may be holding one leg extending towards the ceiling. It doesn't matter how many legs you are holding or whether you're holding or not. Every time we lift the legs, we're engaging all the muscles in the legs and we're aiming to be comfortable and steady. Using your girdle to prevent any lifting of the spine. A few more breaths for this pose. Back print balance to ensure there's no twisting or turning of the spine. Girdle engaged to prevent any lifting of the spine. And anytime you like, in the next few breaths, you can lower those feet gently, maybe one at a time to the floor. And when they're down, you can shake the leg muscles, do whatever you need to do, stretches with the legs. And then stay semi-supine, let go of the floor with your hands, relax those shoulders, park the chin in, and let's do nothing for a while we let the muscles in the legs, hips and thighs relax. Now we know that from the tip of that pelvis, if the tailbone tips up, if the pelvis tilts towards you, the lower spine will lengthen. So we're going to do that before we lift both legs. So perhaps roll onto the side. And here you might need a bolster or a couple of blocks or a rolled up blanket, but make sure the blanket is fairly firm, okay? And then we're going to do a supported Shavasana or shoulder stand. So my hips are raised, yeah? Maybe not as much as they'd be raised if I wasn't doing a supported version of the pose. And then one at a time, I can bring the knees to the chest. So having the tailbone or the tailbone slightly tilted upwards, the spine is lengthened. So make sure your low back is comfortable. Draw the navel to the spine. Settle the shoulders, the back of the neck. Again, if you're using a block, you might need to remove that now. So keeping your eyes on the knees. Inhale, stretch up with the feet. Exhale, navel to spine, knees to the chest or feet to the hips. So you don't have to extend your feet up towards the ceiling. With straight legs, you might notice your feet are about, or your legs are about between 45 and 60 degrees to the floor. Press the thighs away from you. So with the hips lifted, even more pressure on the cardiovascular system. With the legs raised and held raised if you can. Again, you may just want to put your hands on your thighs to help you support the weight of the legs. You could be actively stretching down the back of the legs by reaching down towards the space behind you with your toes. And if we find comfortable here, then we can stay with the legs elevated in this position. And having the legs elevated is having an impact on your blood pressure. Keep an eye on the breath, therefore, to make sure you're still comfortable. What do you need to do to lift your heels even higher? Some of you might even feel the urge to lift your hips. And in the next breath or two, you can release all that effort, bend the knees, and slowly and gently reach down for the floor. And then roll onto one hip and come back up. And then we're going to use the bolster, the blanket, all the blocks, and move them so that they'll be under the shoulders. And we're going to do supported mat Sandery Asana fish pose. So you want the support, whatever it is, between the shoulder blades. You may need an additional blanket or something if your head doesn't like hanging back or it doesn't reach the floor. You may want to leave your knees bent. I've got quite a wide bolster, so it's more comfortable for me to have the arms raised. Some of you might want to have your hands behind the head with the elbows dropping back towards the floor. Some of you might want your arms either side of you. So play with your arms to find where they are most comfortable. Not hanging is generally a good idea. So maybe with the head supported, a bit tipped backwards, you can feel that extension in the throat and in the collarbones. You're probably aware of the chest lifting and widening every time you breathe. And the legs are resting. In fact, they're completely redundant now because you're a fish and fish don't have legs. So any tension in the legs, you can let them relax. So there's an effortless arch of the spine here. A big stretch in the front body as you breathe. And as your face softens, it falls into a smile. And then gently bring one leg back and roll to the other side. And gently and slowly return to upright. And then you can remove your blanket, your bolster, whatever you were using as a prop. And we're going to come back to that semi-supine, knees bent, knees looking at the ceiling. Chin pulled in, so the neck is long, arms away from the body, so the shoulders are relaxed and the palms are facing up. And again, return our attention to the spine and its natural inclination, its natural back print now, following those stretches. Noticing how the back print might be aligned differently or balanced differently. Feeling the movement in the spine as you're breathing in and out. Noticing which bones are on the floor and which aren't. And then lifting the feet off the floor one at a time and bringing the knees to the chest. Hands on the knees so the fingers line up with the shin bones. And press the knees into the hands as you breathe in. And press the knees into the hands as you breathe out. So as the knees move forward, notice how the spine wants to lift with a tilt of that pelvis. And as you breathe out, notice as you're drawing belly to spine, the back flattens and rolls back down to the floor. So we're going to do half a dozen of these, putting breath and movement together. Breathing out as much as you comfortably can. Asana. The knees don't have to stay hip width apart, they might get wider. Knees pressing into the fingertips as you inhale and pressing into the heels of the hands as you exhale. Knees into fingertips, inhaling. Knees into the heels of the hands, exhaling. And in the next breath or two, whenever you feel like you've coordinated breath and spine, then you can let that effort go. Allow those feet to step down one at a time to the floor so you don't cause any lifting in the spine. And then you can park your head, your feet, your hands where you're comfortable. And you might just want to roll the head a few times. You might have chosen to lengthen your legs. And we're finishing the practice in Shavasana or semi-Shavasana with the knees bent. And let's just take a few breaths here to notice the effect of the practice. And to notice that breath that you are now breathing. So without making any movements that are too sudden, too quick, very gently bend one leg if you've got your legs straightened and roll onto the side so that you can come up to sitting. And we're going to sit for about 12 minutes, certainly 10 minutes. So make sure that you are comfortable so that we can do the pranayama sitting upright together. So as with any sitting position that we're going to maintain for a little while, you need to be comfortable. Please excuse Bert, he'll get bored, I'm sure. So first of all, make sure that you are in fact comfortable and that you're upright, that you have your spine aligned so you're not leaning forward or back. And settle the shoulders, perhaps bringing the chin slightly down so you have a sense that the top of the nose is slightly reaching down to the floor. And then we'll start looking at the breath without making any alterations. Noticing your breath as it is right now. And noticing in fact that the breath is not just an in breath and an out breath, but there are 4 parts to each breath. There's the breath in, and perhaps a small pause. And then the exhale, and perhaps another pause. Again, try not to edit the breath or lengthen those pauses. Just look at the natural flow of the breath today and see how it is for you. Some days there's only one pause in the breath. And some days there's more of a pause in both ends of the breath. So let's see what's happening for your breath today. So we can maybe start to think of the breath with its 4 sides. And notice the length of the inhale, the natural spontaneous inhale. And then when you have a measure of the inhale, and again, if you have a very long inhale, maybe you might have to shorten it gently. See if you can hold the pause at the end of the inhale, so at the peak of the breath, hold that pause for as long as the breath. And some of you might be thinking, oh, that's easy peasy. I can hold it for much longer. So again, if you want to extend the length of that hold at the end of the inhale, so we're holding the breath in, please do. Noticing the sensation in that pause. How do you feel when the breath isn't moving? Holding the breath in, we have to look for signs of tension in the throat. In particular in the throat, but also it might be in the neck or in the jaw. because the breath isn't moving, it becomes all the more quiet. And you may be able to use your heart beating as a measure of the time. And it might be that it's comfortable for you today to extend that hold so it's twice the length of the breath in. So if you're breathing in for 4, you'd be holding the breath in for 8. But again, try not to strain. You don't have to take that breath, hold every breath. You might want to breathe normal breaths in between each hold. And stay alert to any signs of tension in the chest, in the throat, that telltale clicking of the throat. And we know, because science is telling us, that people who can hold the breath in like this, who restrict the breath gently, calmly, and with control, what we're doing is we're triggering the body to slightly change the gene expression of some cells in the bone marrow. And this results in the body's responding by manufacturing more granulocytes, which are a key white cell in the immune system. And this is something which is naturally shown in people like free divers, people who train to hold their breath. And we don't have to hold our breath for anything like minutes. This retention of the breath in is sufficient. So we're maintaining this breath steadily, comfortably for another minute. That might be just another few breaths. And when you next take a breath in, don't hold it. Let go of any modifications you made to that breath. Check your sitting position. And allow the body to choose the breath it needs. Notice those 4 sides of the breath again. And when the breath is completely settled, then gently and slowly, you can find your way from your vertical sitting position onto your mat for Shavasana. And you want to be comfortable. That's the most important thing about Shavasana. So whatever it is you need, maybe you need blocks, blankets, socks on, lights off. Take a moment, and I'm just going to share with you something I found having a sort out of my bookshelves. So this is a lovely little book called Prayers of the Cosmos, translated and with commentary by Neil Douglas Klotz. What a name. Anyway, it's a lovely book. It's called Meditations on the Aramaic Words of Jesus. And he's looked at the Aramaic texts of familiar prayers and the Beatitudes and had another look at the Aramaic and given it quite a different translation. So while you're settling, I'm going to read you what in the King James Version of our Bible starts, Our Father which art in heaven. So we also know that as the Lord's Prayer. And this translation calls this Our Birth in Unity. O Bertha, Father, Mother of the Cosmos, you create all that moves in light. O thou, breathing life of all, creator of the shimmering sound that touches us. Breath of all the worlds, we hear you breathing in and out in silence. Source of sound in the roar and the whisper, in the breeze and the whirlwind, we hear your name. Radiant one, you shine within us, outside us, even darkness shines when we remember. Name of names, our small identity unravels in you, and you give it back as a lesson. Wordless action, silent potency, where ears and eyes awaken, there heaven comes. O Bertha, Father, Mother of the Cosmos. Let's just focus on one of those stanzas. The breath of all the worlds, we hear you breathing in and out and in silence. So we're going to turn our ears inwards. Listening to the sound of your breath coming and going. Listening to the silences when the breath isn't moving. What is the sound of that silence? Perhaps there's an internal ringing or a chiming. Maybe you can hear the electricity of the Om in your ears. Maybe you can think of this as being your own personal Om. Your perception of that silence. The shimmering sound that touches us. That's all we're doing. We're making everything quiet and tuning into that sound when nothing is happening. And if anything catches your attention, whether it's a part of your body or something outside of you, bring your attention back, your focus back to the silence. When that chime catches your attention, that's your cue to start that gentle process. Remind yourself there's no hurry. You can stay longer. And whenever you are ready, making whatever movements feel comfortable, you can return back to the upright position. And I shall take my leave of you. And thank you for joining me. And I hope you take this peaceful feeling with you into the rest of your day. Namaste.